Greetings. This morning I'm harvesting Roselle the easy way. What we use on the Roselle, or the fruiting hibiscus, is the calyx of the flower. We don't use the base, we don't use the fruit or the seeds. It is the calyx. That's the thing that wraps up around the actual fruit. It's the outside. And I've found that the easiest way to harvest this is just simply to use a pruning shear like that, cut it off, knock the seed core out of the middle so it's empty, drop her in the basket. Much simpler than what I'd been doing. So I'm literally removing the branches from the plant, like this. I'm just chopping the calyx off. Yeah, so previously what I was doing was picking each individual pod like this, bringing them inside the house, laying them on a cutting board and cutting them in two. I decided that that was too much work, and so if you're working too hard in the garden, most likely you're doing it wrong. And I decided that this was the latest method for harvesting Roselle in Bill's garden. It's much faster. Most of the work is done by the time we reach the kitchen. You want to inspect each one of them as you knock it off, just to be sure that you don't have some kind of bugs or some mold. Occasionally on these I've come up with ants on the inside. Don't want those. I've come up with a few earwigs and a few slugs in here, and every once in a while a flower spoils and gets moldy and will mess the calyx up too. So you want to look at each one of them as you're going along, just to make sure they're nice. That way you only have to inspect them one time before they go into the dryer. Now there are many possible ways, depending on where you live, that you can process this. If you live here in Hawaii, absolutely, you're going to be using a dehydrator. Now, if you're living in California, I'd say you can use the sun. We used to be able, in the Bay Area, we could usually sun-dry stuff from somewhere around June to probably very early October, depending on the weather. But outside of that season, forget it. Anything you put out in the sun to try to dry gets soaking wet and molds away. Here in Hawaii, we have no choice but to use a dehydrator. We've chosen an excellent American-made, made in California Excalibur dehydrator. It works really well for us. We're very pleased with it. I have dried many pounds of pineapples and mamaki leaves and all manner of different stuff in there. Of course, it's electrical powered. Electricity is kind of expensive here on the island, so it does cost me. The expense is really made up in the fact that nothing goes bad on us when we use it. Here's a bad one. It's got a moldy spot on it. Pretty slick, huh? Yeah, like I said, you're working too hard. You might want to consider a different way to do business. Okay, so I now have a nice basket full, and we are ready to head in and put this stuff in the dehydrator. But before I leave the patch, one thing I want to mention is Roselle is an annual, a tropical annual, and so we need to have seeds for next year so I can raise another crop, just like raising tomatoes or peppers. I also need more seeds so I can sell them to the YouTube viewers who don't have Roselle seed. And so I'm going to leave, there's two varieties out here, and I'm going to leave enough fruit standing on these plants in the field to ripen so we can get enough seed for next year too. So I will not harvest 100%, and I'm going to leave a little bit on each one of the plants as I harvest, so I guarantee that I have the greatest genetic diversity in my seeds. Okay, well, let's head in and process this stuff. So here we are at our most excellent Excalibur dehydrator. Don't know what we would do without it here in Hawaii. Average humidity around here is at least about 80%, and so getting anything dried out is not easy. So here I have my Roselle in the basket. I'm going to spread the calyx out across the dehydrator screen here, sort of evenly. All right, there we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead, close that puppy up. I've got it set over here. It appears to be at about 130 degrees, which is good for fruit and drying tea and such. And I'm going to set it for about 4 hours, which should be enough. If it isn't, we'll test it. We'll come back out and check them again. But I have a batch inside the house here that we dried yesterday, so let's look at the finished product. So right here you can see that we've dried 4 racks of this stuff last night. It is crunchy. Okay, it crumbles in the fingers. That's just right. From there, we can take it, seal it up into canning jars is fine. I have my vacuum pack machine over here, which as we go along, I'm going to put this one in the pantry for me to use, but then I'm going to start vacuum packing all the rest of it so it doesn't begin reabsorbing moisture around here. Okay? And so the whole point is keep it dry, put it somewhere in the dark. Sunlight kind of messes with the colors and stuff, so you want to put it away in a nice, dry, dark cabinet where it's fairly cool. It does not require refrigeration or anything like that. Just keep it dry. As I've mentioned numerous times before, this will make an excellent tea. It makes a very delicious soft drink, which in Mexico is referred to as Jamaica, spelled Jamaica in English. That's also the name of the plant there too. And so there are quite a few uses. When you're using the fresh calyx, the fresh calyx also makes an excellent replacement for cranberry sauce. So aloha, y'all hang loose, and just have a wonderful day.